我宣布
The 9,119th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is the situation in Mali. The agenda is adopted. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. Members of the Council have before them document S/2022/650, the text of a draft resolution submitted by France and Mexico. I wish to draw the attention of Council members to document S/2022/595, a letter dated 3rd August 2022 from the panel of experts on Mali established pursuant to Resolution 2374 of 2017 addressed to the President of the Security Council. The Council is ready to proceed to the vote on the draft resolution before it. I shall now put the draft resolution to the vote. Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2022/650 please raise their hand? The result of the voting is as follows. The draft resolution received 15 votes in favor. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as Resolution 2649 of 2022. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.
Let's talk about Russia's presence.
The 9,120th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is the situation in Libya. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representative of Libya to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. In accordance with Rule 39 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite Ms. Rosemary DiCarlo, Under-Secretary General for Political and Peacebuilding Affairs, to participate in this meeting. It is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I wish to draw the attention of Council members to document S/2022/632, the report of the Secretary General on the United Nations support mission in Libya. At this meeting, the Security Council will hear briefings by Ms. DiCarlo and Ms. Ruchira Kamboj, Permanent Representative of India, in her capacity as Chair of the Security Council Committee established pursuant to Resolution 1970 of 2011 concerning Libya. I now give the floor to Ms. Rosemary DiCarlo.
Mr. President, thank you for the opportunity to brief the Security Council on the main developments in Libya over the past month. Since the last Security Council meeting on Libya on 25 July, the United Nations has continued to engage with Libyan actors at all levels to facilitate a resolution of the political impasse. I am deeply concerned that the ongoing stalemate and continued delays in implementing the electoral process pose a growing threat to security in and around Tripoli and potentially to all Libyans. That threat materialized a few days ago when Tripoli was again the theater of violent clashes between armed groups supporting Mr. Dbeibeh and Mr. Bashagha, respectively. The fighting broke out in the early hours of 27 August and rapidly intensified and spread to civilian-populated areas of Tripoli. It involved the indiscriminate use of medium and heavy weapons affecting civilians and civilian infrastructure. According to the Libyan authorities, at least 42 people were killed, including 4 civilians and 159 injured in the clashes. 50 families were reported displaced, and 5 health facilities were significantly damaged. 2 detention centers for migrants and refugees were affected, involving a total of 560 persons. This appeared to be an attempt of pro-Bashagha forces to enter the capital from the east. However, they were blocked by pro-Dbeibeh forces at Zlatan, about 160 kilometers east of Tripoli, and were forced to retreat following clashes. Attempts by other pro-Bashagha armed groups to advance on the capital from the west and southwest were similarly repelled. Fighting in Tripoli and its outskirts subsided on 28 August, although the situation remained tense and fluid. A fragile calm has since prevailed in Tripoli. It is unclear how long it will last. Retaliatory attacks by both sides and the announced intention by the Government of National Unity to arrest pro-Bashagha elements involved in the fighting may trigger armed clashes that could again affect the civilian population. Mr. President, I'm very concerned at the limited political progress during the reporting period. The United Nations has consistently underscored that the conduct of elections remains the only way to break the current impasse. Despite our continued efforts, no progress has been made on forging a consensus on a constitutional framework for the elections. Following their meeting in Geneva in June, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Aguila Saleh, and the President of the High State Council, Khalid Mishri, held further discussions in Turkey on 1 August and in Egypt on 14 August. Regrettably, disagreements persisted, particularly on the eligibility criteria for presidential candidates. I urge both leaders to complete the work accomplished by the Joint Constitutional Committee. It's critical that an agreement is reached on a constitutional framework and timeline for elections that will enable the Libyan people to choose their leaders. Mr. President, there were a few positive developments during the reporting period. I commend, notably, the ongoing efforts of the 5+5 Joint Military Commission to preserve and strengthen the implementation of the ceasefire agreement. Of note, on 27 August, the Eastern delegation to the JMC called their counterparts in the West to reassure them that the Libyan National Army would not be involved in the fighting. Earlier, on 9 August, the Joint Military Commission met with UNSMIL in Sirte to enhance the readiness of the Libyan ceasefire monitoring mechanism. They made progress on the activation of a joint operations room in Sirte. They also finalized the modalities for the withdrawal of foreign forces, foreign fighters, and mercenaries from Libya. On another positive note, on 18 August, the General Assembly of the Supreme Court of Libya voted to restore the court's constitutional chamber, which had been suspended since 2016. The reactivation of the chamber could contribute to the resolution of disputes over the legitimacy of decisions taken by Libyan institutions. I'm also encouraged by the progress on national reconciliation, including the efforts of the Presidency Council to implement its strategic vision on national reconciliation. I reiterate the United Nations' readiness to support Libyan efforts at national reconciliation, as well as the African Union's planned conference on national reconciliation in Libya, to be held at the earliest possible opportunity. Mr. President, turning to economic developments, oil production resumed on 17 July. By the end of July, production had reached pre-shutdown levels of 1.2 million barrels per day. Recently, the Libyan National Oil Corporation announced plans to further increase oil production capacity. I'm concerned, however, that growing public discontent in the southern region over lack of basic services and poor living conditions may lead to renewed closures of oil fields in the area. The explosion of a fuel tank in the vicinity of Zuia on 1 August, which killed 25 people and injured dozens of others, sparked a wave of protests over the long-standing marginalization of communities in the South. On 21 August, local dignitaries threatened to form a parallel government in the South if their demands for respect of their rights to basic services and stronger representation in state institutions were not met. Libya's national resources belong to all Libyans, and revenues from oil exports should be distributed equitably and fairly. Mr. President, I regret to report that human rights violations in Libya continue to be a major concern. On 20 August, armed groups affiliated with the Libyan National Army encircled the town of Qasr Buhadi, 25 kilometers south of Sirte. Civilians were deprived of their freedom of movement and prevented from leaving their districts, with hospitals, shops, schools, petrol stations, and other essential facilities forced to close. On 26 August, military actors withdrew from the town, but continued to control all movement in and out of the town. I urge relevant actors to immediately lift the continuing restrictions imposed on the population of Qasr Buhadi and warn that the situation could further escalate to an inter-community conflict. Individuals peacefully exercising their right to freedom of expression continued to be subjected to abduction, enforced disappearance, and arbitrary detention. Violence against women activists and their unlawful arrest and detention continue. Smear campaigns targeting civil society actors, particularly women, consisting of hate speech and incitements to violence, are deeply concerning and must cease.